In the second part of today's MetaMed Grand Rounds, I'd like to cover the use of the IC-8 Apthera small aperture IOL and my early experience using this unique lens. Let's begin with a review of the optics involved here. So the IC-8 is using pinhole optics to achieve a greater depth of field. And really we're trying to deliver distance, intermediate, and near visual acuity for these patients. Let's take a moment to look at some of the defocus curves involved here. So here we're looking at the defocus curves for a monofocal IOL, which is targeting either distance vision, intermediate vision, or near vision. What is unique about the IC-8 is with its extended depth of field, it's really extending the depth of field on both sides of the curve, both in the hyperopic distance direction as well as the myopic direction. And we can take advantage of this by targeting a small amount of myopia, which allows us to still have good distance visual acuity, but exceptional intermediate and near vision. And so when you implant this with a contralateral monofocal in the fellow eye, these patients achieve really quite good distance visual acuity, intermediate and near. And this is evidenced here, as you can see, with the defocus curves. I'm always preaching that there's two components of vision. There's quantity, how far down on the chart the patient can read, and then there's quality, how crisp and sharp the images are. And one way we try to test for how clear and crisp an image a lens is going to deliver is using the MTF. And here we're looking at MTF curves for a variety of different lenses. In the dark blue, we have the IC-8. And the higher on this graph the curve goes, the greater the clarity, the greater the ability to determine fine details. Just left of the dark blue curve for the IC-8, you can see the light gray curve for the Tecnis monofocal IOL. And I always felt that the Tecnis delivered exceptionally clear distance visual acuity, really crisp, clear image quality for patients. And you can see the IC-8 is somewhat close to that, especially when compared to the other lenses that are trying to achieve all three zones of vision: distance, intermediate, and near. And in light blue, we see the Symphony curves. In yellow, we see the Restore curves. In the red, we see a trifocal IOL, and all of them are producing good vision, but you can see that the IC8 and the single focus monofocal IOL, these are producing higher quality MTF curves. So the image quality predicted here by the bench research is that the IC8 should produce very crisp, clear image quality. It is important to remember that you want to target a minus 0.75 sphere to get the most functionality out of the IC8. And the reason, again, is the extension of the depth of field in both directions, both in the hyperopic direction and the myopic direction. And so targeting somewhere around that minus 0.75 seems to work best, gives the patient very good distance visual acuity, excellent intermediate, and good near visual acuities. The first IC8 case I'd like to cover is a patient with a normal cornea, a normal eye. And what we're doing is really mimicking what was done in the FDA trial, where we take the non-dominant eye, implant an IC8, and in the dominant eye, implant a standard monofocal lens. This patient's really main pathology, other than the cataract, was the presence of an epiretinal membrane. However, there did not appear to be significant amounts of pucker being produced by this membrane. A little bit of thickening, as can be seen in the lower right-hand corner of the retina there. Aberrations were pretty normal. So we have a certain amount of coma, our spherical aberration, 0.36. You can see the axial topographic map produced here on the bottom. And the amount of astigmatism being estimated by the eye trace here is 0.98 at an axis of 80. How did this patient turn out? Patient did great. So first post-op day, patient was seeing 20/25 plus 2, J2 for near. We ended up putting a Ray 1 EMV in the dominant eye to establish a little bit more intermediate vision as well as good distance. And the final uncorrected distance visual acuity binocular 20/20 and a near of J2. The second IC8 case I'd like to review is a patient who was post-RK. This patient had undergone 8-cut RK incisions about 30 years ago, had a cataract, was seeking better vision. Here we can see the flattening of the central cornea on the pentacam. Looks like this was actually a very well-performed RK procedure, very well-centered. We can see the flattening within the central cornea, as well as the classic mid-peripheral elevated, quote, volcano ring produced by RK. As with many RK patients, although the patient saw well initially, there was a hyperopic drift and the patient's manifest refraction was a plus 1.5. There was about 0.8 diopters of astigmatism depending upon the machine looking at that. And again, the IC8 can correct probably about 1.75 diopters of astigmatism. So this was within the range. This patient is doing great post-operatively. Here we are 4 weeks post-op, uncorrected distance visual acuity of 20/20 minus 1, and an uncorrected near vision of J1. So in addition to really good visual acuities here, the patient noted that the quality of vision had improved dramatically. A lot of that distortion from the peripheral RK incisions and the topographic irregularities in the cornea produced by those incisions had really been eliminated with the use of the small aperture IC8. Our third patient I'd like to show you is a mild keratoconus patient. This patient had been using soft toric contact lenses to achieve monovision. The left eye was the non-dominant eye and was really made for reading. Here we can see the topography. Patient has a little bit more advanced keratoconus on the right eye than the left. Even the right eye is sort of mild to moderate, but certainly just a trace amount of inferior steepening on that left eye and really not dramatic thinning, although the beginning of a cone can be seen on the posterior float. This patient with the IC8 also did very well. 2 months post-operatively, only the left eye has been corrected, but the uncorrected distance visual acuity in this eye is 20/25, near is J1, and compared to the toric soft contact lens, this patient has much better distance vision in this eye. So preoperatively with the toric soft contact lens correcting her for near, distance vision in this eye was only about 20/60. So the patient was thrilled that she not only was getting near of J1, but this eye was contributing 20/25 towards the distance and really helping her dominant eye see much better. So, encouraged by the success of this mild keratoconus patient, I thought, what if we try it with a more severe keratoconus patient? So, unfortunately, this patient had very advanced keratoconus. I had cross-linked this eye the year before. Despite the cross-linking, the Kmax still remained extremely high at 78 diopters. Central pachymetry, very thin cornea, 349 microns. So, and a central cone. Notice that the cone, this is not an inferior cone, this is a centralized, quote, nipple cone. And really, this is what was presenting the challenges for the patient's vision. You can see the mires and how distorted those mires are by this very steep central cone. Patient's uncorrected visual acuity was only count fingers, best corrected with a -11 plus 4.75 at axis 131 was 20/80 -2. So that's the best corrected that glasses could get this patient to. Patient was completely intolerant of contact lenses and refused a scleral lens fitting. But pinhole improved this patient to 20/60 +2. So I had a long discussion with this patient and said, you can't use a scleral lens. There's not enough tissue here for a topography-guided PRK to try to improve the shape of the cornea following cross-linking. Your pinhole improves you to 20/60. If we implant this small aperture lens, would you be happy if we could get you to this pinhole acuity? The patient said, absolutely, that'd be a huge improvement. Let's go for it. Again, using the Eyetelligence platform to plan this lens. So the problem with the IC8 is its lowest power is 10 diopters. And a 10 diopter IC8 in this eye was predicted to leave a residual refractive error of -16, which clearly wasn't going to be an ideal outcome. And so I thought, what would be the best way to treat 16 diopters of myopia that the IC8 was going to leave behind? And I thought, well, with such a long and deep eye, let's try to put an EVO ICL Visian into the sulcus space and correct that -16 using the Visian. And so what was undertaken in this particular eye was to remove the natural lens, place the IC8 within the capsular bag, make sure it was centered, and then implant a Visian EVO ICL to take care of the remaining myopia. So how did this patient do postoperatively? Not nearly as well as we had hoped. Uncorrected distance visual acuity before surgery was count fingers. Now it's improved to 2400. Pinhole was 20/60 before surgery. Now pinhole is only about 20/70 -1. The manifest refraction, it's really difficult to perform a manifest refraction on patients with a small aperture IOL. First of all, you can't get a starting point from your autorefractor. The autorefractor simply will not read through that small pupil. iTrace has made claims that their software can use a wavefront analysis through a 2mm pupil to give you a starting refraction. We in our clinic have struggled with that, but I think others may have been more successful. So that's a plus or minus. Retinoscopy, I have found, is impossible. You just simply can't see enough of that reflex moving back and forth. So you've got to really move slowly with the manifest. And even here, this manifest, I really put no weight in it. So unfortunately, this particular patient did not see the improvement that we had hoped for. So in conclusion, when considering the IC8 Apthera small aperture IOL, it seems to be great for monovision patients. If your patients are used to monovision from LASIK or contact lenses, allowing that near eye to see distance and near really gives them, in my opinion, better vision than what monovision can. It so far has been great for post-RK patients. It really has improved the quality of their vision and delivers good uncorrected visual acuity. So I think you can use it in those post-RK patients with a lot of confidence. It seems to be good for mild or moderate keratoconus patients, particularly when the cone is inferior. My advice on things to avoid severe keratoconus patients where the cornea really just has an excessively steep K reading. You also want to be careful patients who have large pupils. So younger patients, their pupils are a little bit larger in scotopic conditions. If the pupil dilates beyond that carbon nanoparticle ring, they can have a lot of disabling glare and halo at night, so pay attention to how large the pupil dilates non-pharmacologically. I would avoid patients who have keratoconus with a central cone. I think having a very centralized cone affects the quality of the image through the pinhole. And of course, any central corneal scarring or foveal pathology really should be avoiding this lens.